The Horn Dog Podcast. Let's talk sports with Coach Dub. The Horn Dog Podcast. Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is Coach Dub coming to you live from downtown Fort Worth at the Stockyards with your Horn Dog Podcast. We got a special edition this week talking to Coach Ryan Potter of the Virginia Tech Hokies, who is currently supposedly on the hot seat, but he's got a 37-27 record, 3 winning seasons, 5-1 versus rivals. Let's jump right into it. Coach Potter, you only have a 1-3 bowl record and 5-14 versus AP top 25, but you might as well say the top 10 because 4 teams in your conference are consistently in the top 10 of the playoffs. Can you talk about your record a little bit for us?
We've been pretty consistently below 7-8 years in the minimum school. The staff's really been building the roster. You know, a lot of our team is young. We've finally gotten some recruiting classes that have allowed us to be a little bit more competitive in some of these games. You know, if you look at our record, a lot of our losses are close losses. We got blown out by Oregon, but other than that, we hung in there with pretty much every team on our schedule this year. For a young team with 14 freshmen and sophomore starters, I feel like we're going in the right direction.
Now, you were talking about your recruiting class. You're currently number 15. You've done more with less, and you're right there with powerhouses Oregon, Boise State, and Clemson. Tell us about how you look for these guys that fit your program.
Well, it's really about trying to get the speed to compete with a lot of these teams. We end up with a speed deficit at some of the skill positions, and we looked around trying to target some of those guys that really fit our program. And the transfer portal is not really too much of a factor in our recruiting. A lot of these guys we get straight out of high school, and we just look to develop them, and we want them to play in our system. We run a kind of a hybrid air raid, and we need a good quarterback with a strong arm, and we need some receivers that can get open, and that's really what's starting strength for us.
Yeah, and while we're talking about your air raid offense, your offense is 5th in the nation, and you have the number 1 passing offense. And you're number 1 in passing touchdowns, number 1 in first downs. Walk us through your prolific offense.
Well, the thing about the air raid is that somebody's always going to be open on almost any play. So when you're looking at the pre-snap read, looking at what the defense is doing, it doesn't really much matter what the defense is doing because someone's going to be open. One of those receivers is going to be open. The quarterback just has to make the right read and let the ball go as soon as he sees that. Can't be holding on to the ball. You got to throw it as soon as they're open. You got to throw it.
Okay, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about the whispers that you've been on the hot seat. I want you to know before we talk about it, I've heard through the grapevine that your job is secure this season.
Well, I think that last win against Virginia really helped us. Our in-state fans, really care about that rivalry against Virginia. We kind of got a blue-collar fan base out there in the mountains, and they really hate Virginia. So if you beat Virginia consistently, you should be able to keep your job. We probably need to win our bowl game as well to really make sure that we're going to be secure. But I think that the last 2 games, being able to win those, has really given us a chance.
Yeah. That being said, there's also been whispers. The Virginia Tech president and the athletic director talking about moving to another conference to allow you to build your program without having to face 4 perennial powerhouses every year. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we hang in pretty well with most of those teams. I think Oregon beating us 52-7 this year was the first time that they'd really beaten us that badly. I mean, we had a 10-point game with. We had a 10-point game with Washington. I mean, we lost the number 1 team in the nation because we went for 2 in overtime to try to win the game and try to take advantage of that momentum. And we lost to Clemson by 14. And that really just came down to a couple of mistakes that we made early in the game. We just were kind of chasing it. So I really don't think that I really think we can be competitive in this conference. We always give everybody a game, with the exception of this Oregon game this year. I mean, normally those games against Coach Gonzalez are pretty tight.
Yeah, and those guys are great too. I know when you're having to play teams like that, it's really hard to recruit, but you've still done a good job of recruiting. I don't see any reason why Virginia Tech should let you go. I think you've done a great job with where the team was 4 seasons ago and where you have them now. It's night and day. And if they can't see that, then they don't deserve you having you coach at Virginia Tech, Coach.
We always find a place. Good coaching finds a place. So we got a background as a tactician. We can find an offensive coordinator job somewhere, or we go to a smaller school if we need to. But I really think we're doing a good job at Virginia Tech. We love Exeter. We'd like to stay there.
I think if you're there for another 4 years, Coach, they will be a powerhouse at Virginia Tech.
I truly believe so. I think that we're building in the right direction. Like we've got freshman running back Rashad Chi. I mean, he was running wild the last few games of the season. He's had some injury problems, but he's still run for almost 750 yards this year. Had a kickoff return touchdown. Our quarterback's only a sophomore. We've got some pieces on the defensive end. I mean, if you look at all of our interceptions this year and where they've come from, I mean, Jimmy Stoneberg's got 5 of them, but they're all freshmen. So, I mean, we're getting some freshman playmakers. We got Jabari Joy on the defensive line that's really making some noise. So, I mean, I think as we continue to progress through these recruiting classes, we're really going to start to be competitive.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. I wish you the best of luck in your bowl game. Keep up what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Tell your players we said hello from the Horned Frog Podcast, and go win us one this bowl season.
All right. Well, thank you. You have a great day.
All right. You too. Thank you, sir. All right. We'd like to thank the Virginia Tech coach, Ryan Potter, for being with us. We have another special guest on the line right now, Austin Weaver, the head coach, Penn State, who has a 22-4 record, 4-3 versus the top 25, currently 10-2, and also currently slated to be in the playoffs and has made the Big 12 championship. How are you doing today, Coach?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Let's talk about the team you got to play, the TCU Horned Frogs in the Big 12 championship. They're the number 1 rushing offense in the nation, and your defense has been stingy all season, allowing 81.5 yards per game, while TCU has averaged 234.5 a game. How do you prepare your defense for that?
It's a mentality aspect. Hopefully, we stay ahead, silence the crowd early, get a few picks, stop LaDainian Tomlinson Jr. from down our throats for the last 2 years. We've struggled with the run game. Now we got a hell of a defensive line. As long as they stay healthy, it could be an issue.
Now, you say LaDainian Tomlinson Jr., but I don't think he's going to be able to play against y'all. You're going to have to face P.J. Price. LaDainian Tomlinson had that dislocated ankle. I don't think he's going to be ready for another 2 weeks. He tried to get ready this week, but they told me that he just can't put pressure on that right foot. So that should be a little bit of a sigh of relief for you, right, Coach?
Yes, it's a sigh of relief that I don't have to face that amazing running back that he is. We still got to worry about your second string running back. He's very solid. He was solid last year against us.
Yeah, and you're primarily a passing offense, and TCU, is number 1 in the nation in sacks and number 4 in interception. What is your preparation like to limit the sacks, and what do you tell your quarterbacks who combined for 16 interceptions as they face one of the best secondaries in the nation?
You got to limit picks. I'm starting my junior, who's a little bit better than the freshman. Give the freshman time to get up to his level. They're both very good quarterbacks. It is just not letting them throw errant passes down the field.
Speaking of that,
to pick and choose their targets who are down the field and zone in on one, and you can't do that. Not against this defense.
Yes, sir. That's definitely true. But let's talk about senior running back Austin Khaled. 1,324 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns. He's averaging 5.6 yards per carry, 110.3 yards a game. How do you plan to use him to take the pressure off your quarterback and your offensive line?
A whole lot of. I found out last game he's really deadly with those swing passes. You give him enough speed out of that pocket, and he could plug some people.
That'll definitely. While we're talking about your short passing game, Marquise Naylor has 1,232 receiving yards and 12 receiving touchdowns, but he averages 28 yards per catch. Have you considered using him in a more quick, short yardage passing game to nullify the pass rush of TCU?
We can. It's just more off of the slot. So I may have to move him to the slot to counteract TCU's amazing defense.
Coach, it sounds like you got a really good game plan. You're not really giving too much away, which is really good considering this is the Horn Frog podcast. But let's talk about the backup running back for TCU, PJ Price. He had 209 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns versus Baylor. He's been amazing stepping in for LaDainian Tomlinson Jr. Did you treat him differently, or is the message the same for your defense?
The message is the same. We got to set a line of scrimmage and let nobody through. We got to create the good old ministry of defense like the Vikings had back in the 80s. We got to set that line and let nobody through, create a wall.
It sounds like a solid plan. Coach, I just want to say you've done an amazing job at Penn State. When you started out, it was a struggle. But you flipped a complete 180 after your first season or two, and you've been a dominant force in the Big 12. You've been a dominant force in the nation. It looks like you've been doing really good in recruiting as well. We wish you the best of luck. You've done an amazing job, and we just want to say keep it up, because stories like yours are what makes college football great, Coach.
Yes, it is. Stories make everything great. And this is a storyline that's been waiting for a while. Had to slip up, left 2 games early this season, and we don't want it to happen again.
Hi. All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate the time, and you have a good one, all right?
You too.
All right. Bye. Well, that's it for your Horn Frog podcast today. We'd like to thank Coach Ryan Potter of the Hokies and Coach Austin Weaver of the Nittany Lions for being with us today and giving us some interviews. Great job for them. We wish them the best of luck in their upcoming endeavors and this season and next season and the years to come. They're both amazing coaches and have both done an amazing job. This is Coach Dub signing off from Fort Worth.